Today we're going to shed light on a riveting figure from the Second World War, a man who shaped the narrative of naval warfare in his own contentious way, Fritz-Julius Lemp. A U-boat commander, Lemp's fateful decision to torpedo the civilian ship SS Athenia still sparks debates today, reflecting the grim realities of wartime decisions. His life, marked by his role in the rise of Germany's U-boat fleet and the controversy surrounding his actions, offers a compelling journey through the complexities of war. So buckle up as we plunge into the depths of history, exploring the life and times of this remarkable figure. As Galway provided care to survivors from the SS Athenia, which had been torpedoed off the coast of Donegal on September 3, 1939, the United States, Britain, and Canada launched a fervent condemnation of Germany for sinking a passenger vessel. Among the 1,418 passengers and crew were over 300 Americans. Tragically, 117 lives were lost, some during the rescue operation by the Newt Nelson and 3 British warships, HMS Electra, HMS Fame, and HMS Escort, that had hastened to the site of the disaster. Among the fatalities were 28 American citizens. Hitler was taken aback. He sought to avoid conflict with America at the onset of the war. Despite Britain and France declaring war on Germany on the morning of September 3rd, mere hours before the Athenia was sunk, he held on to hope for a diplomatic resolution. He aspired to start the war with a gentle approach. He held the belief that he might still convince the Western powers to concede German sovereignty in Europe, in the same way the British had established colonies in Asia. If successful, and he was known for his persuasive skills, his invasion of Poland would have come at a minimal cost. Hence, he strictly commanded that only enemy warships be targeted. Merchant vessels were to be stopped, searched, and their crews safely evacuated before any attack. Under no circumstance were passenger ships to be sunk. However, the sinking of the Athenia was a setback to his plans. He immediately sought an explanation from his naval personnel. Grand Admiral Raeder initially denied the presence of any German submarine near the Athenia, mainly because Oberleutnant Fritz-Julius Lemp, the U-30 commander who fired the torpedoes, had recognized his error and discreetly retreated. Lemp, who was known to be humane, unfortunately offered no aid to the survivors. Later, Lemp stated that he had mistaken the Athenia for an armed merchant cruiser due to her zigzag navigation, a maneuver typically used by warships. He failed to document the incident in the submarine's log and compelled the crew to maintain secrecy. It wasn't until several days later that the German High Command learned the truth. In the interim, German propaganda absurdly attributed the sinking of the Athenia to the British. It was labeled a British atrocity, an attempt to sway neutral opinions against Nazi Germany and induce America to join the war. As the U-30 finally docked on September 27, 1939, there were rumors that its commanding officer was in deep trouble. Although Berlin continued to deny the sinking, the entirety of the U-boat fleet was aware of Lemp's involvement. The fear was that due to his miscalculation and Hitler's direct involvement in the controversy, Lemp might face a court-martial, or at the very least be stripped of his command. However, his top commander, Karl Donitz, recognized Lemp's accomplishments during his first wartime patrol. Following the Athenia incident, Lemp and his crew remained active. He had sunk an additional 2 vessels, downed 2 British aircraft, showcased notable compassion by rescuing 2 British pilots from the sea and ensuring they received medical treatment in Iceland, and demonstrated expertise and complete command during an intense depth charge attack. He managed to bring his damaged vessel back home. Penalizing a young U-boat commander for his mistake could send an incorrect message to the men of the U-boat force, who were set to play a crucial role in the ruthless battle of the Atlantic. As such, Donitz chose not to implement disciplinary measures against Lemp. Instead, he applauded him on a successful mission, noting the lessons that had been learned. The truth only came to light in January 1946 at the Nuremberg trials, during the case against Grand Admiral Erich Raeder, when a statement from Admiral Donitz was read, admitting that the Athenia had been torpedoed by the U-30 and every measure had been taken to conceal this fact. The next mention of Fritz-Julius Lemp is in May 1941. By then, Lemp had become a successful submarine commander, having been honored with the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross, given for exceptional battlefield bravery and successful military leadership, and was commanding a new type of submarine, the U-110. He had finished 2 successful missions, sinking 3 vessels and damaging 2 others. On May 9th, together with U-201, he was engaging a convoy in the North Atlantic south of Iceland. At this point, the British had significantly enhanced their anti-submarine tactics. Sonar detection could swiftly pinpoint enemy submarines. During this assault, Lemp was distracted by a torpedo malfunction. Perhaps he was fatigued, but that lapse of attention would prove fatal. The U-110 was rapidly detected by an escorting corvette, HMS Bulldog. The U-110 was then subjected to a relentless depth charge assault. With his submarine critically damaged, Lemp commanded it to surface and declared, "Last stop, everybody out," signaling abandon ship. As the crew ascended and sprinted along the U-boat's deck, 2 nearing destroyers, HMS Bulldog and HMS Broadway, fearing that the Germans were about to fire from their deck gun, riddled the deck with bullets. Once the British realized that the submarine was surrendering, they ceased firing. The remaining German sailors dove into the ocean and swam towards the British vessels. Lemp had activated the boat's vents to flood the submarine, which should have resulted in its sinking within minutes. He instructed radio operator Heinz Wild to abandon the codebooks and Enigma machine and evacuate quickly. He reportedly declared, "The U-boat is sinking." Captain Joe Baker Cresswell of the Bulldog initially planned to ram the submarine, but seeing an opportunity to seize the submarine and its valuable Enigma machine, he paused and waited for the swimmers to be rescued. Lemp, identifiable by his submarine's number, surfaced and dove into the sea. His actions were closely monitored from the bridges of both ships and the HMS Broadway, which had arrived at the scene. However, midway between his submarine and safety, Lemp halted. He evidently recognized that the U-110 wasn't sinking. He had left the top-secret Enigma machine and codebooks in the radio room. He attempted to swim back, but vanished beneath the waves. 15 men lost their lives in the conflict, and 32 were wounded. A German prisoner later claimed that Lemp was shot in the water, a claim the British denied, suggesting that Lemp committed suicide by drowning upon realizing his submarine wasn't sinking and that he'd left behind its secret documents and code machine. The events of that fatal afternoon remain a mystery. Would the British have allowed Lemp to swim back to his submarine, knowing they could seize it? Regardless of what transpired, Fritz-Julius Lemp perished in the frigid waters of the North Atlantic on May 9, 1941, at the age of 28. The captured Enigma coding machine and various code books proved invaluable to the government code and cipher school in decoding German naval codes. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. See you soon.